everybody, and welcome to 372 Pages We'll Never Get Back. I am Conor Listoka. I am joined here by Mike Nelson to read yet another book that we do not expect to like. Mike, how's that bearing out so far?
Oh man.
With our latest.
Wow. This one's a barn burner. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. This is, wow. Mm-hmm. This is, I don't think I can even describe it. I think we better tell them what the show is, and then we can get into it.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah, so it's 372 pages we'll never get back, and we pick books that either we discover or listeners recommend to us that we don't expect to like, and we expect to have a fun time discussing on here as we read it, book club style, section by section. And the latest one is our 19th book we've read here together. It's one we've wanted to do for a while, and we finally pulled the trigger. It's called Antigua, Part 1, The Land of Fairies, Wizards, and Heroes by Larry Ellis and Denise Brown Ellis, a husband and wife author duo. And
all right. I told you I was going to hit you with my theory.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it out of the gate. Are we sure? I mean, there's no way we can be sure, but that this wasn't written by their 8-year-old nephew, and they just went, this is good. More people should see this, but, no one's going to buy the book of an 8-year-old, so we'll put our names on it, honey, and we'll publish it. Are we sure that that's not the case?
Many signs. I mean, I have the exact note in here. This was written by I said probably 6-year-old.
Okay.
I believe the part where they're describing the wizard flying on his magic wand somewhere. That was what made me think like this is just like a child telling you a story that they know they're making up as they go. But the enthusiasm and the childish way it's written is that exact probably that exact reaction. However,
okay, so I'm not far off the mark. You at least entertain.
The scope of this book it's a 120,000 word book, which obviously would try the concentration and focus of any given 8-year-old trying to write that much. So at some point in time, an adult intervened.
Okay. I mean, I guess, what is the theory? Never attribute, don't make up elaborate theories when just it's a dumb book is enough to, right?
Yes.
Just a Occam's razor thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go with that, although I would hold it in reserve if they, one day just said, ha, long con. At least we have it on record that I theorized it's possible.
Or it could be the 1,000 monkeys theorem. They have 1,000 8-year-olds chained to typewriters, and eventually this is the book they spit out.
Right.
As they were typing randomly.
Right. Okay, another good theory.
But yes, the childish way it's written, obviously the descriptions, the repetition is very childish. Often we'll cover this, but there are sentences, 2, sometimes 3 sentences in a row that essentially make the same point in the way it would if you're attempting to extend a essay or presentation you're doing in high school. The names are absurd, and obviously they are trying to have a scope that is, the fate of the world is at stake. People are being, villages are burned and stuff, but there's obviously no stakes whatsoever. There's just mean octopuses with swords in each of their hands, I quote, chasing around a princess or whatever, a girl who just came here from London.
Yeah, the repetition thing was, it was very shortly into the book that I wrote, like, oh boy, are we in for a lot of this? It's like, oh, you bet your bottom dollar.
Absolutely. And then you have the mysterious thing that we discovered in the intro episode, which you should read, where there are multiple versions of the book.
Now that is puzzling. We own all versions now, correct?
We do. I think unless there's some sort of holographic version. I don't think there's an audiobook yet.
Right. Okay. But I have I have the hardcover.
And I have the paperback.
Yes.
But we are reading the Kindle version.
Yes.
That is what we've determined to be canon because everything else has things excised from that version. Now,
I'm going to hope, of course, that the Kindle version is the same as the PDF version because
we converted that from the document, from the Kindle document. Yes.
Whew. All right. Because it's good to know right out of the gate that, at least in my PDF, that this book is printed on acid-free paper.
Oh, very nice.
Very
nice.
So good.
Yes.
That was good to know.
Someone else pointed out that there was a warning about any images from Getty Images that might be used, even though there are, only image in the book is a illustration of a dragon on the front that is probably not from Getty. Anyway, they surmised that was probably a boilerplate from Author House, who is the self-publishing company on the back of the book. Before Amazon, I guess, will just let you do it yourself. You had to be like Amanda McKittrick-Ross and go to one of these sort of vanity presses, as they called them.
Yes. It was first published by Author House, one word, camel caps, 11/21/2007.
Oh, wow. So we just hit the 14th anniversary just last month. All right.
Right.
Well, so also to contradict your theory about it being written by a 8-year-old, there is, we heard in the intro episode that much like Amanda McKittrick-Ross as well, the authors had, in the early days, clapped back at the haters, which it was hard to find any evidence of. But one listener, Mark, did write in and provide the one evidence that remains online. I think Amazon had sort of scrubbed some of those reviews or responses, maybe.
Oh, okay. But what did they say to that?
He found this response on Goodreads, which is from Mrs. Ellis. Who we can speculate as we go about the input from the two authors. We know which songs John wrote, which songs Paul wrote for the Beatles, so we can speculate where the influence was from both Larry and Denise Brown.
Right, which chapter is A Day in the Life, where
yes.
Larry wrote the first part.
Collab, yeah.
Yes.
But so far, Mrs. Ellis seems to be the one that takes the hate to heart, and she wrote this. We'll see if we buy her defense. Antigua, the land of fairies, wizards, and heroes. As you start to clap back at the haters, and that's what you have to type as the first line, you might just be like, you know what, I'm going to log off and go for a walk. Antigua, the land of fairies, wizards, and heroes is a children's book for 9 to 13-year-olds. It was written in its simplicity so that children could understand it. It was written in 5-year-old language, as some critics claim, on purpose. I want every child, no matter what their age, to enjoy a fantasy book. So far, the only complainers are adults. Children are not complaining at all, and that pleases me. Children do not care about internet politics. They just want to read a magic fantasy book, and they are indeed reading my book and enjoying it. For that, I am thankful. Adults, move on to more adult literature and leave this book to the kiddies. They are the ones we wrote the book for. Children enjoy reading a book that is easy for them to understand. I did not write this book for older teens or adults to read. Even the cover is childish for kids to enjoy. For adults to complain this book is childish and immature is just plain silly. It's supposed to be. It is for kids, and they are enjoying it. So even in there, the repetition is off the charts. Wow. I guess she's really trying to make the kids do that. But very similar to, a lot of complaints you see on the internet. It's sort of a cousin of the turn off your brain theorem, where if you're like, hey, the Star Wars prequels suck big time, people are like, those are for kids. Those, a 44-year-old man is like, those are for kids. Like, it's like, oh.
Wait. So you wrote a 12. How many words did you say it was?
I believe this is 120K. Yeah.
That is, that's. I think in order for it to sort of qualify as a novel, I understand like 75,000 words is kind of. Roughly. That's a novel.
Yeah.
So, almost twice a novel for how old? 8, 9-year-olds?
9 to 13-year-olds.
9 to 13 are going to pick up huge. Okay.
The Harry Potter demographic is essentially, I think, what she wants a piece of. But, that you don't see J.K. logging on to dress people down about how simply she wrote the book so that children could understand it. It's a if this is what you think a 13-year-old needs to read, you've insulted your demographic right off the bat there.
I would say so. I think at 13, I was maybe a little ahead. I'm not.
Weren't you going to college at 13?
I went to college at 16.
Okay.
but that has nothing to do with my rate of intelligence. Something else entirely. But no, I was. I would have thrown this book across the room. Like, are you kidding me?
Right. It's
yeah.
The difference between a a beloved children's book that's also technically readable, and this is so. But anyway, that's essentially her defense here. There's no. But you think she would also want adults to read it too, because that's how you get the Harry Potter money.
Right. I don't buy that, and we're going to wade into this book ignoring that thing that, like, every time we say how stupid and childish it is, we have her in our brains going, "Aha! I meant it to be." Like, did you?
But no. Yeah, the idea that children are not complaining; they're just reading it in silence and enjoying this, and then going and doing their book reports on it, which is, absolutely unprovable that this quote silent majority of children are out there enjoying the book. Is very funny.
That is
to imagine, like you.
I would just put up as another example the Chronicles of Narnia, let's say, written by C.S. Lewis, are for children. Entirely enjoyable and incredibly well written. So there is a place that you can't just make that defense. Like, well, of course the Chronicles of Narnia are stupid and really boring and childish and hard to read. I meant them to be.
Right, yes.
Says C.S. Lewis. No. Well, shall we get into it?
I think we should. So we're going to be reading this. The book, the Kindle version, does not contain chapter breaks. The heretical paperback version does. And essentially what we did was found where the Kindle version corresponded to the first 3 chapters of the paperback version. So that's sort of how we can break this down. They're, of course, longer, I think, than a typical book's chapters. But essentially what the paperback did was go through and just take lines out. There's no differences in the story. They didn't really revamp anything. There's just a lot has been excised.
Well, did a single child complain, and that caused the? How did this?
She took that one to heart. She had to go sit on her Irene Iddlesley fainting couch and really breathe deeply once a child complained. She'd been betrayed by her core demographic.
Yes. Finally, a legitimate criticism of my writing.
And
Timmy.
I think that, we pointed this out, and one of the things that drew us to the book was the overuse of exclamation marks, which cannot be understated how often they pop up here. And I think it's going to be, of course, fun to read in that style. I think we also have to scale back, and we can't call out every single time they use the exclamation mark.
No, because as I'm just looking down the page, you would just have to say the times they don't use the exclamation points.
Yes,
are called out. So,
and the fact that they excised a lot of that in the paperback, I was like, did we see something? Is it like leaving a stet in the book, like an editorial note, like where the exclamation parts, the line she sent Author House to excise from the print copy? But that's a conspiracy theory. There are lines that some exclamation marks did make it in, so that's not possible. But the thought occurred to me about halfway through this reading.
Well, again, what it had to be in response to children going, I enjoy this book so much, but if you just took out the exclamation points, I, Mr. Child, would enjoy it more.
Do you want to guess an over/under of how many there are in the book? Because I did the Control F.
Holy moly!
Yeah.
Let me see. 120,000 words. I'm going to say, rough estimate, there is 700.
Oh, I'm
well
sorry.
Under?
Well under.
I'm not good at math. Let me just tell you that.
Multiply that by 6. There are 4,374 exclamation marks in the book.
Wow.
So if you figure any given sentence, what do you think an average sentence length is? Like 7 words, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
If you have a sentence of 7 words, that means that there would be 17,100 sentences in this book, and that means that 1 out of every 4 ends with an exclamation mark. Which I don't know. That seems kind of low based on just what we're looking at on this first page here.
It does. All right, chapter 1, according to my hardcover book.
Yes.
Yeah.
It starts with, a big bang, which is the dragon Vorultrar descending upon a village and burning it to cinders.
Kids love it.
And it's shocking to the people in this village. All the villagers heard and saw Vorultrar approaching. They screamed and cried out. They were all terrified. Voreltrar had never flown this far south before. So they've been tracking Voreltrar's movements and sort of have a predicted pattern for him. But he's now entered the southern kingdom of Antigua, and this is shocking to them.
First pronunciation challenge. The dragon sent there by whom?
Oh, the sorceress Gwendevier.
Gwendevier. Yeah, that's what I sort of arrived at. Gwendevier.
Because we're going after Guinevere. Gwendevier.
That's making it harder.
Yes, much harder. Because there's also King Arthur with 2 R's. We've also introduced in this first paragraph to King Thomason, King Alexandrio, and King Arthur. That's 3 R's in Arthur. Someone wrote in to speculate that the names were just R's were added at random to normal names to create these fantasy names.
Oh, yeah. They just populated. Maybe there was a macro they built and they just populated names with it. But again, do kids like to, reading along about, dragons flying over and he's shooting fire and it's, they're in danger. The King King Arlexandrigo.
Yeah, just asking a parent how to pronounce something every third word, and your parent finally just like throwing the book out the window. Yes. I mean, you think about Harry Potter, where everything was, an alliterative name almost to the point of childishness. She's like, this is a popping potion, and we're going to, just the fainting forest or whatever, where it's like, settle down with these. But this is the exact opposite of that, where everything is just much harder to say and to read.
Yeah, I mean, there was she obviously had a sense of humor about her names, and, there was some cleverness. It did get cloying and annoying after a while.
Once the bodies start stacking up in those books, it starts to sort of be jarring. Yes. But just as an example of the exclamation marks here, we've got the dragon Voreltrar spit out a steady stream of fire and burned down the entire village. The heat from the fire was intense. There was smoke everywhere. The smell from burnt wood and ash was in the air. Every business and cottage in the village was destroyed. There was nothing left. And I think we should keep an eye out for as we read these sections, the sentence that least warrants the exclamation mark that gets one.
Oh, that's true. Here's the repetition right before that. The mighty creature stopped right over the village and spread his wings out wide. He hovered in the air over the village with his mighty wings spread out. That's right at the beginning of the book. And then, man, does that keep coming.
Right, and then we very quickly also get everything that the villagers had worked for and all their worldly possessions were gone in an instant. They had nothing left.
Their reaction? I assume, I don't know, were they happy,
weeping,
bored?
Gnashing, rending of garments?
They were extremely upset.
They also couldn't believe what they were seeing. Maybe because they had just figured that the dragon would never fly this far south. So
yeah.
But then in terms of a reaction, this is a fantastic one. Bernardo, we're introduced to very quickly. I think he's the first named character that isn't one of the kings or the sorceress. Bernardo was a lumberjack and the husband of Belinda and the father of 10-year-old Sharif and 12-year-old Molly. Yelled, "Did you all happen to see the size of that creature?"
There's, like the guy in the cheese shop. He's currently on fire. Like, no. How big was it? Yes. Hang on, my hair is still burning.
Yes, he's trying to extinguish his infant or something, or he's just weeping next to his wife over their burned hut.
I assume everyone stopped and went hands on hips. That's your takeaway, Bernardo?
Yes. I just imagine him doing like the thumb over the shoulder, like pointing back as the dragon's flying away.
Yeah, Bernardo, not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
And then we get another character. So the tics, the repetition, but also the name, specifying the characters' ages is a very 8-year-old thing to do, I would say. Not to specify the age there, but we meet 10-year-old Sharif, 12-year-old Molly, and that continues as we meet various octopuses and mermen and stuff throughout the book.
Yes, the teenage mermaids, and I think teenage fairies too. I think 13, 14,
Yep.
and 15 are very specifically mentioned later.
Yeah. And then we get something. I like to give credit in these books when something I actually is either good or, more frequently legitimately funny.
Yeah.
Because a bunch of knights ride up, and the knight Sir Hector asks, "What has happened to you people?" Bernardo yelled, "Vorultrar happened."
Yeah, I thought that was very like internet-y.
Yeah, it's Marvel movie kind of.
Yeah, well, that happened.
Yeah. And then very quickly after we get my first, just hold down the exclamation key, because Bernardo says, the dragon Vorultrar has burned our village down to the ground. We have nowhere left to go. We have lost everything. And then he gets a response from the knight Sir Larry.
Yep.
So before that, we've had Eleanor Adora. We have Arthur, Guinevere, Bernardo, Belinda, Sharif, and then we get Sir Larry.
Sir Larry.
Which I didn't realize, Larry Ellis, the co-author of the book, so maybe just a little hat tip there.
I guess so. It was a little bit jarring, though. But yeah, that was a laugh out loud for Bernardo's joke was good, and then Sir Larry showed up. So that was a good paragraph for me.
If only they had said, "Hello, Larry."
Yes. Before that, by the way, they after the village is burned to the ground, like everything they'd ever worked for.
After Vorultrar happens.
Right. And we assume, I don't know, what is when you firebomb a city, like what is the death toll?
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know how to figure that out. I think there's probably some way to do it, but or estimate
60% of the village, if people are out hunting or gathering, but there's always some people there to do chores or to thatch the huts.
Yeah. But they hit the streets and they all go. Bernardo goes, we should head up to King Arthur's place. And then it says, all of the villagers agreed with Bernardo and headed on foot to the kingdom of King Arthur. Hey, can I bury my 6, 3, and 1-year-olds? Or, we're going to go right away. Oh, we're leaving now. Okay. All right.
I wrote down, none of them died? That just,
I don't know.
I mean, if we're taking it at face value, they are, they should proceed immediately to the sorceress's Guinevere's castle, and because they're all immortal.
Right. Well, I don't know. Do they have a really good warning system, and they all got out, or do they have shelters, underground bunkers or something?
Yeah,
doesn't really say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's they maybe Sharif will go on to write his own Slaughterhouse 5 after having surviving his version of the firebombing of Dresden.
Dresden, yeah, amazing.
I just have to check right now. I don't want to keep doing this, but you have to know. Just there's so many named characters. You did the count, I believe, but
I did.
So many of them are just so obviously not going to play a role in the book. I need to know if Sharif is ever going to be seen.
Okay, dude. Let's spoil it right here.
This is the only mention of Sharif. Okay, that's.
I am very concerned about Christopher. Could you do me a check of Christopher?
So
please?
Christopher yelled, "We're not where can we go, Bernardo? Where can we go?" So he is he's doing the grabbing him by his collar and shaking him, and Bernardo's going to have to slap him and say, "Get yourself together, man." And I said, because he says, I said, "Who? Please be his only appearance." About a paragraph later, King Arthur says, "You all may rise. Who are you and from whence do you come?" Christopher said, "My lord, please forgive our intrusion. We have nowhere else to turn. We come from the central plains of the land of Antigua." And that is the last we'll be hearing of Christopher.
Yes. But please, he said that in the voice of Richard Gere from Officer and Gentleman.
We have nowhere else to turn.
Nowhere else to go. Yeah, Christopher, a great character. But then we meet King Arthur. And what is her name? I don't have it right at my hand.
Queen Eleanor Dora.
Eleanor Dora.
Too close to Elora Danan from Shadow Moon for my tastes.
Yes. But they're great characters because all they're like if Mr. Rogers, they're like King Friday or something.
Yes. Correct as usual, King Friday.
Yes, you come to my land. You are most welcome, of course. He does nothing. There's no edge to this guy at all. He's just like, he's a very jovial king. He just welcomes them all in. He's like, let's get to building you some new shacks, which they do.
Yeah, yeah. They get some participation from some various other fantasy races here. Everyone in the kingdom participated in the building of new colleges for the newly arrived visitors. They spent the entire day building cottages for everyone. Even the mini-wads and centaurs helped.
That is, for me, I went a little Larry Ellis on it, and I all capped and many exclamation points and interrobangs over that. Mini-wads?
Mini-wads, yes. So for those of you who are not reading along, one, read along. This is going to be quite the ride, but it's MINIWADS. And it appears
I of course dove right to the my search bar.
Yeah,
and came up with nothing.
Yeah, it appears to be perhaps the only original thought in this book. They created a race of fantasy creatures called the mini-wads, and later on, I think maybe 5,000 words from now, they get down to telling you what that is, but they hit you with it on page 2 right here, right out of the gate.
The fact that I guess the mini-wads do not complain that their name is the mini-wads. I was speculating with someone the other day. What if you had to move to like Thailand or something and your name in their language was like stinky armpit hair or something? Right, and you'd be like, I'm just not, I'll just change my name to Larry or whatever,
Right, yes.
The mini-wads are like, yeah, we're the mini-wads. Like, no, you can decide what you're called.
Yeah, right, exactly.
They're sticking with mini-wads. So,
yeah, it's not a slur or anything in their language. That's what but it's revealed, I'll spoil it for it, the mini-wads are 4 feet tall. So, you read mini-wads, and I thought they were like essentially elves or something, or elves in the sense of the shoemaker and the elves, where they live in a little mouse hole type of deal.
Yeah, a shoebox is a house.
Yeah. But they're they're of short stature. But I guess
mini,
probably closer to the hobbits. I don't know.
I guess, yeah.
But they know their stuff. They're a good race to have on hand when you need disaster relief. Because look at this insight they have. The wives of the knights provided the men, mini-wads, and centaurs with food and drink to give them energy and prevent them from getting thirsty. So that's good. I know that we've done a short somewhere where they were pedantically explaining to someone why you should look both ways or something, and then it was about cooking. It was like don't touch the stove when it's hot, and it was like may we also remind you that water is wet as our joke, and it was like that's what this book is doing unironically.
It would be funny if the kid's reading it, and next to the mom at night or something. The wives of the knights provided the men, mini-wads, and centaurs with food and drink. Mommy, why did they do that? What is the purpose? Read on, honey. To give them... Oh, okay.
Yes. Right. You've got to stop asking me questions in the middle of the book, in the middle of a sentence. You don't even know if it's going to end in an exclamation mark at this point in time. And we got another good insight because it says everyone in the westernmost province did their part in helping the villagers build new homes to live in. Even Princess Trina helped in the building of the cottages. Even her. It's her first mention. I should add that into the...
Yes. King Arthur proved to be an honorable king indeed. So that's, again, this guy is just... is he taking off the crown when he's like climbing up on the beams and he's doing the barn raising with the mini wads?
Yeah, he's because you assume he's usually just like you said, King Friday. He's sitting on his throne waiting for some peasant to come in and beg him for assistance. So for him to actually get up and throw down with the mini wads and centaurs, that's it's good and honorable of him.
Yeah, most times he's sitting on that, the throne with what did the kings of England sit on? There was like a rock under the throne, like a square of
rock. I'm
not
familiar with that.
Yes, yeah. Then it was passed on to, when the chair disintegrated, they would build it around this rock. So he sits at that with his little, I assume he has like a hemorrhoid donut or whatever, and his purple robes on. And for the rest of the book, people just kind of come in and he just like dispenses warmth and wisdom to them. So it's just very odd that the first view of him is like swinging a hammer.
Right.
It's just very funny.
Alongside Princess Trina. But then
even her.
We get one of the many, many whiplash transitions here, too, because if you're reading the Kindle Canon version, there's no, like, star, star, star. There's no real breaks or anything like that. You just get King Arthur proved to be an honorable king indeed. Meanwhile, on the other side of the waters of Antigua, Billy, who was 15 years old, pleaded with his sister not to run away from the orphanage and leave him alone without any family.
That was one of those... because there's so many versions, like now I'm diving back to all the others. Like, oh, obviously I've accidentally erased an entire section of the book.
But no, you get a parallel world essentially, and it's Billy and his sister Rebecca. I have a first Sonic challenge, which I'd like you to do if you have this up, because we get he's begging her not to run away, and then she says, Rebecca whispered. And then there's a long stretch of things that includes several exclamation marks. So I'm going to text it to you now.
I have it right in front of me.
You can just whisper, but also with exclamation marks.
Okay, I'm Rebecca, and I am... Oh, Billy was 15, so Rebecca's probably older, 16?
I mean, it is absolutely spelled out in the book. I don't know what it is.
Okay, well, anyway, I'll put that in my character Bible and try to get like 16. Okay, here we go. All right, and I'm checking ahead for exclamation points. Okay, some have them, some don't. Okay, here we go. Rebecca whispered, Billy, I explained all this to you. I told you long ago that I'm going to come back and get you. We won't be separated for long. I promise. I have to do this. I have to do this with both of us. I have to get away and make a new life for both of us.
Okay, you can go. If you're going to keep doing that, please go and maybe come back, maybe don't. But stop whisper hissing at me.
Yeah, whispering on microphone, to me, it's like, wet mouth noises with food. Like, just take that off air, man. Sure. So, I'm sorry you had to hear that, everyone.
ASM. Yeah. But so she says she needs to get to England and start a life for us there. So that was very jarring. But then,
very,
yeah. So I get there. So they're in the real world. You mentioned Narnia earlier. This seems like what's happening there. But they don't seem to have a firm grasp on this real world, or maybe I'm just an idiot, because it says when they're explaining the orphanage where they live, it says Ms. Branshaw was the head mistress of the orphanage in Britain, where Rebecca and her brother Billy lived. So Rebecca needs to get to England.
Yes,
they're in Britain. What am I missing as an ignorant American?
Well, the kingdom grew and shrank at certain times, so it's hard to. Yeah, and we don't know what year it is.
Exactly.
But we assume it's. Is it supposed to be like kind of World War II-ish, or?
Oh,
I don't know.
I did not.
Well,
think
I was
that.
just thinking C.S. Lewis-y kind of.
Huh.
But does Ms. Branshaw? She, I assume, never married. Mm-hmm. Does she come back? Because she's a great character. She was a woman of about 62 years old.
I didn't pick up on that.
She had gray hair, which she wore up into a bun at all times. She always had runs in her stockings. So even if they were new, she would put them in there. And her slips were always showing beneath her dresses. She wore thick bifocal eyeglasses, black military shoes, and long dresses past her knees. So, out of which the slips were showing.
Those are some long slips, baby. Wow.
So anyway, Ms. Branshaw seems like a real firecracker, and I'm sad that she is so short-lived in the book.
Right. Yeah. You never know, because Billy makes Rebecca promise that she will not forget him. Promise to come back and get me, and she says, "I'll be back for you. I promise." So we've set ourselves up here.
We were talking about this yesterday. God, I hope to God she does not come back. I hope this kid is Bluriana'd into out of existence.
It's nothing. Nothing would make me happier. World peace has been declared tomorrow, Connor. But does Billy get forgotten like Bluriana? I need that to die happy. So we've got that to look out for. Because to get ahead of it, Rebecca escapes out of the orphanage and travels to Antigua, in that period of time, we got the sentence I picked that was at least warranting an exclamation mark.
Okay.
It was, the spider webs looked as though they had been spun years ago.
I wish I could send you the snapshot. I have that exact note.
Nice.
Well.
Yes. All right, good.
Also pretty talented this is in the basement as she's trying to escape. Pretty talented in the dark to, recognize a spider web that looked like it had been spun years ago. I mean, she's a talented, what do you call it when you're an expert on insects?
Yeah, entomologist? Or is that the word person?
Etymologist, entomologist?
It's
ichthyologist?
I'll take it
fish.
right here. I'll take the L for saying, defining a potentially entomologist or entomologist as a word person. You don't need to write in, thank you.
Also, I said insects, spiders, arachnids.
Wow.
Busted.
Wow.
Yep, I'm in trouble too.
I don't know. Maybe you can look at a house and be like, oh, that's 50s architecture. That was what they were built like then. So maybe there's a piece of newspaper in there that's from 20 years before whatever year this is taking place in.
Sure.
That's hilarious. Everyone is specified. Sharif is 10 years old. The fact that we don't know what year this is and have to speculate is pretty amazing.
So she escapes the basement and she goes into the river bank.
Her plan was to catch a ferry to the railway and then catch a train to England because she had run off towards the river in Britain.
And so she sinks slowly because of her backpack. I don't know when the word backpack came into existence.
Okay.
I'm sure there was always some sort of sack that you wore over your back. But anyway, so I don't know.
Whenever the back sack to backpack transition took place, that
Yes.
was a big moment for mankind. Yeah.
She drowns in the river. Well, she loses consciousness.
Yeah.
And then we get this. This is good news. Crondria?
It sounds even worse to say it out loud. Yeah.
Crondria cradled Rebecca and breathed life into her lifeless body. Whew. Okay, well, that's done. Good job. She was working frantically to save her life. Wait, what? So disregard the last sentence? She knew that she had to move quickly or Rebecca would die.
Wow.
And be lost to her own world and the land of Antigua forever. She's currently doing that, right? She already breathed life into her lifeless body.
Yeah, unless she doesn't trust her own ability to breathe life into a lifeless body. I mean...
and then it just goes on. Chandria knew that without this child, the prophecy would never be fulfilled and the land of Antigua would be lost to the evil sorceress Gwen Vendever forever. Crondria whispered desperately. So this would be a sonic challenge for you.
Okay, sure.
Breathe, human girl, breathe, breathe. Oh, please breathe.
And we have to assume she's also breathing life into her as she does this, right?
Yes, exclamation points for every one of those two.
Breathe, human girl. Breathe. Breathe. Oh, please breathe. Oh, that hurts more than doing like a Nolte impression.
Nolte, yeah, you've out Nolte'd him. Oh, Crondria, you're a wonderful puzzle. But anyway, she breathes life into her.
But she's terrified. She had never been so scared before in her life. A feeling of pure panic came upon her.
Right.
And then, 2 sentences after that, Rebecca, I guess, regains consciousness. Rebecca just stared at Crondria in disbelief. She couldn't believe what was happening.
Oh, I've got here. These are contiguous sentences. Rebecca didn't know what was happening. Noted, right?
Yes.
She didn't know where she was or who this beautiful creature was that had just saved her life. Okay, there's a little more info there. Rebecca just stared at Crondria in disbelief. All right, come on. She couldn't believe what was happening or what she was seeing. I mean, they do the 2 or 3, but this one is 5 repetitions.
Do you remember the Mad fold-in on the back cover of Mad magazine?
Sure.
It's like you did that with a book where you fold it together maybe, and then the sentences form one shorter book that does not have as much repetition.
Wow. Okay.
Well, the reason it's so important to breathe life into her is because it had been prophesied that a human child from the other side of the waters of Antigua would one day come to the land of Antigua and deliver all its inhabitants from the sorceress Gwendevier and the blue dragon Voreltrar. So, we get that prophecy. Obviously, Rebecca is the person that's going to fulfill that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, we should have said this at the outset. The actual Antigua, what is the governance of the actual Antigua? Is that something you know off the top of your head?
You mean the one that exists IRL?
Yes.
I have no idea. Okay. I couldn't tell you exactly where it is. Is it in the Caribbean?
Yes, I assume so, but again, I thought an entomologist was an etymologist, so don't ask me.
My parents may have been there, but I also may have been to Anguilla, so my ignorance is on full display.
All right. Anyway, that's something we should put a pin in. There must be some reason they chose Antigua.
Okay. All right, or there's a chance that they don't know it exists.
Okay.
Well, so the mermaid, the 16-year-old mermaid, it is specified, is going to take her with the ability to float like a mermaid, and breathe underwater. And then Rebecca looked around at how beautiful the waters of Antigua was. Get ready, buckle up for this one. Rebecca had been to the Aquarium in England before and had seen underwater creatures before, but she had never actually swum with them before. And I challenge you, it may require some sort of, quantum physics or something, but find a way to get a fourth before into a sentence. And you're going to, that's the reader's challenge for the week here.
This happened in my PDF, so I assume this happened in the Kindle. It did not happen in my hardcover, which I had to dive to. But try to puzzle this one out. This is all contiguous. This is Rebecca. I don't understand any of this. This is all very strange to me. This is the waters of Antigua? What are the waters of Antigua? And then they died in an automobile accident one night turning on a winding road in Britain. The waters of Antigua is my home, and I love it very much here. I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. But the land of Antigua is not all water. There is also land. So, naturally, I had to go to the book and go, wait, what? And they just omitted the fact that it was the mermaid replying to her, which seems like kind of a big miss in terms of editorial.
Yes. To describe it, it is a solid block of text that starts with specifically Rebecca saying something, a quote mark, and we've never seen this before. This is unprecedented. The perspective of who is speaking changes in the middle of a quotation mark.
Yes.
It's bold innovations in storytelling, man.
I was trying to think of a book if it was, all told in the first person, but they just accidentally in the middle of it switched it to a different person. Oh, shoot. Oh, yeah. Should have caught that in editing.
Yeah, so that was the first real big double take of the book here, but let's not overlook the fact that they essentially explain away why they're orphans in that one sentence. They died in an automobile accident one night while turning on a winding road in Britain.
Yes.
The most treacherous type of road.
Yes. Then I think, I don't know if this is Larry or, what's her name? Sorry, I got to get her name.
Denise.
Someone goes Solort on us.
Oh.
Just at that moment, two other teenage mermaids swam over to where Rebecca and Crondria were.
Uh-huh.
It just seems like there was a little, why do we have to speculate?
Right. Because everyone seems to be like teenagers, essentially. And I guess that's her appealing to her target audience here.
That's true.
The two other teenage mermaids are, oh boy, Philiandra and Shrona.
Shrona.
Every single character name is essentially like a misspelling or Larry. Like that's that's what we're getting here.
Philiandra. Yep, Philiandra and Shrona. Yeah.
And she introduces herself thus to them, and it's going to be a trend as we go. My name is Rebecca. I'm 16 years old, and I come from Britain. Do you remember how Roller Gator would introduce himself? He would always say, I'm not a baby. I'm almost 12.
Oh, yes.
So whatever reason for that was, I think it was sort of a joke in that movie, heavy quotes, but it's a trend here in this book as well. It's very strange.
Yes. But this is always great character motivation. This is for Shrona and Philiandra.
Philiandra?
Philiandra. Philiandra says, Shrana, we might as well go with them. We have nothing else special to do at this moment. Oh, you're supposed to take your characters on a journey. Their journey is just like, I don't know, I guess.
Yeah, I got an appointment in 45 minutes, but till then, I'm just going to scroll on my phone,
We were just pitching pennies against the wall until now, so I suppose. Let's do it.
And then Shrana almost blows it. Shrana says, Chrondria? I'm
saying Chrondria.
Chrondria, yeah. That just, you imagine this like, a graceful mermaid, like just doing loops in the water and stuff. Chrondria. What about the prophecy? Have you told her? At that moment, Chrondria interrupted her and said, "Not now, Sharona." So they've just she's cut her other mermaid off about a prophecy, and Rebecca is sitting there being like, "Yeah, I'm cool with it. I've just been taken to a mystical land of mermaids, and they've mentioned a prophecy right in front of me, but I'm not going to press them on that."
Yeah. Also, I am breathing underwater and flapping my arms, and she did a lot of flapping, by the way. I sort of glossed over that.
Yes. There's a lot here.
So they flap over to King Aquarmond.
Aquarmond, yeah. Like
Aquarmond.
Just take Aquaman and toss 2 more letters into it.
Yes. Toss an R into it. And he says, and so they say, this is the girl we found. We think it's a prophecy or whatever. And then the father says, where is it? Oh, the Merman King, Merman. Are you saying Merman or Merman?
Not like Ethel Merman, no. Like Merman, like mermaid, merman.
Right, okay. The Merman King. Not like Eugene Merman.
Yes.
The Eugene Merman King said, "Yes, indeed, I do know them, but I do not know this human child. I presume that you have breathed the spirit water into her, and that is why she is able to survive for such a long time under the water." I just thought of the mermaid kid going, "Would you let me tell this story, or do you want to just tell yourself the story?"
Dad, of course I breathed the spirit water into her.
Yeah.
God, embarrassing me in front of Rebecca.
I wondered if he was doing it just to be a dad, like a dad joke.
Yeah,
like,
right.
God, I'm telling you.
I also just wanted to. We had the very first Kleining and sentence of the book as they traveled to see her father. As the mermaids and Rebecca traveled in and out of the beautiful coral reef of the waters of Antigua, all kinds of exotic ocean creatures passed them. And presumably the creatures were performing a variety of 80s dance moves as they did that. It's just great. The world building is either like the absolute most excruciatingly unimportant detail or some ocean creatures. They were exotic.
Yes. And they say at one point, which is, I think this comes out of a clear blue sky, is, "I cannot hope to keep her alive in the waters of Antigua. She must get to dry land before something tragic happens to her." Rebecca's like, "Wait, what?"
Right? Yeah.
What did you just say? I thought you breathed life into me, and but no, you're going to die horribly and tragically, like probably soon.
Yeah,
I don't
know. It's just it's a zoo down here on our side of the ocean, because he says that they are on King Aquarmond's. Oh, the unwanted predators live on King Aquarmond's brother's side of the ocean. So have they taken like Lucy and Desi? They've just taken a thing of tape and cordoned off like their respective sides of the ocean.
Yeah, the Marianas Trench made a nice place to put the tape line down.
Nice.
Yes,
but it's 2 brothers, and it says they were giant mermen. They were the male versions of mermaids. They were also rivals. The 2 mermen had fought ever since they were young, but now their fights were more serious. Their fights were not child's play anymore. Their fights were becoming dangerous.
So no longer one holding the other's arms down on the ground and then dangling a loogie right in front of his face.
Whoa, no, yeah, we're well past that. I can repeat the sentiment a few more times to convince you of that, but
the seriousness of it is stated by the king, who says about his brother, King Harnaqua?
Oh, man.
How are you?
It's the first time I'm saying a lot of these out loud, because I'm
okay.
just,
But here's the seriousness of the situation, and their fights have gotten much more serious. That bully, that pest, he will never allow you to bring the child to the 3 kings.
So that makes it sound like he is just like giving him a wet willy and stuff.
Yeah. That doesn't sound too serious.
So he does say it's not safe here. You got to get out of here. And he summons some help for them to be escorted out of the waters. Just then, 3 giant sharks with teeth as sharp as swords, several giant warrior octopus with swords in all of their hands, a giant blue whale, and several warrior mermen swum before the king's throne. And, you know, where a lot of things are dumb sentences in this book, but that is a very dumb sentences.
It's also, when this kind of stuff happens, this fantastical stuff, it's like, wait, how old is the octopus?
Oh, please.
How old is the shark? What are their names? The blue whale doesn't get a giant blue whale doesn't even get a name
or a sword.
Yeah, come on.
I mean, but yeah. So, and we're gonna have a lot of things happening just then, just at that moment, or suddenly. So that's just something to keep an eye out as the book progresses. A lot of things happen, and we've noticed that in other 372 books. I think a lot of things happen suddenly in Model Land too.
Yes. Let me hit you with this quiz. What's the state of Harquana, Aquarmond, and Haraqua?
Okay.
What's the state of their father?
Oh, I don't remember.
Well, he's dead.
Okay.
I'm sorry. He doesn't want to share the ocean with me. Our father, may he rest in peace, didn't raise him to act like this. So, again, I hope that's the last mention of him, but he didn't raise a bully and a pest. But he is dead. Right. May he rest in peace.
Well, it's good that expressions like that are universal, even in kingdoms of mermaids in the waters of Antigua.
Sure.
Well, he sends those crew of ocean animals to escort Rebecca to the land of Antigua, but the teenage mermaids all accompany them as well, just because that's something you're going to do.
Sure.
You'd think that the octopuses with swords in all their hands would be enough, but no, the girls are going to go with him. But he does not know that a nosy octopus named Charlie A had been spying on them. It's Charlie, the way you would spell that, but with a Liey.
Charlie E or Charlie I? I mean, I guess I don't know how their pronunciation in their world goes, but Charlie A, Charlie E, Charlie I. The nosy octopus.
And we get something that might be his full name, because very soon after that, King Harnaqua was sitting on his throne in his own castle when Charlie E. Octopus swam in. So that's his last name is Octopus.
Yeah, sometimes I forget, like Charlie Tuna or Charlie the Tuna.
Right, yeah.
The Star Kissed or whatever. It's hard to, I don't know.
But man, we're going to get to an ocean creature battle here, which I guess I just should describe it as, because I said, how can it get stupider with every sentence and then have a final sentence that's stupider than all of them? Mm-hmm. The ocean creatures from both King Aquarmond and King Harnaqua began to fight. The octopuses and squids began to sword fight. The mermen from both sides also began to sword fight. The battle began. The sharks from both sides began to attack each other with their noses made of sharp swords. So they mentioned sharks a few times. Their teeth have always been as sharp as swords. They've neglected to mention, until the battle has begun, which happens after the battle has already begun twice, that the sharks have noses made of sharp swords. And it's plural, so we don't know if all the noses are made of sharp swords, or if the sharks have multiple noses or noses made of multiple swords.
Also, a very, very strange choice, given that the other creatures carry swords. So, right. I mean, it could have been chainsaws or something. I don't know. But then, shortly after that, the two sharks used their long noses that look like swords to sword fight with each other. The three mermen lifted their swords and began to sword fight. Those are contiguous sentences.
Did their swords look like swords, or were they swords?
I don't.
Wow.
Look, you'll have to ask Larry and Denise. I don't know.
And so the octopus are purely, a cartoon, like an octopus playing, the drums in Under the Sea type of thing, like doing those intricate sword fights with each other like that.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah.
And just like you would do in a cartoon where you're in the middle of a hot crustacean band, Crondria pulled Rebecca behind giant seaweed. The other two mermaids also hid. They hid behind some gigantic corals. So they're doing, essentially their eyes are just peeking out from the in between the fronds of the seaweed there.
Yes, and they're just kind of watching the battle of swords, I assume.
Right.
But this is a great way they mete out information too. He escaped from the other two mermen and swam for home. He had no choice but to retreat to King Harnaqua's underwater castle. King Harnaqua's other ocean creatures had already escaped and headed back to King Harnaqua's underwater castle. I love those sort of, we forgot. I forgot to tell you that these...
Yeah.
They had already escaped. Even though this is happening, contiguously in time, by the way, they already escaped.
Yeah, if you're looking for, battle sequences, any sort of description of action like that, this is not going to be the book for you. It's going to be a lot of, they fought. Since the battle was over, they decided to continue on to the land.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I've got a great exclamation point. This is my favorite, least warranted exclamation point.
Okay.
I'll try to read it with as much excitement as the exclamation point warrants. The central plains of the land of Antigua were inhabited by people who were not really under the leadership of any particular king.
Wow. Social studies made exciting.
Yes.
I mean, did that mean that they, had their own ruler but they were their numbers were low? Have they always just been an independent society? Like we need some more info here.
I think the exclamation point says it all.
It's just it's a thrilling development.
Yeah.
So that once they get the way this chapter ends, however, is I think that was from that thing. But it ends with King Harnaqua making a merman disappear with his scepter, and then it moves into chapter 2.
Yeah, then on to chapter 2, as you say, a lot of world building.
A lot of world building, and this was just since it was the start of the chapter, it made it easy to look at the book and see what was different here. So I highlighted some of what got cut in print.
Oh, okay.
It starts off, the land of Antigua was as beautiful as it was mystical. It was a very large country divided up into 4 provinces. 3 of the provinces were ruled by kings and were protected by their very own wizards. This next sentence gets cut. Each wizard had their own unique special magic gift, and if the 3 of them ever united their powers, they would be a mighty force. And then I think that the one that you read was also maybe cut.
What?
Yeah.
Let me look at my hardcover.
The central plains of the land of Antigua were inhabited by people who were not really under the leadership of any particular king. They were people who had a lot of respect and admiration for all 3 kings of the land, but they considered themselves to be independent of any direct rule. Because the people of this particular region were not rebels, the kings had no problem with it. And then it gets on. So the paperback cuts all that. That's important world building.
It is.
That's like when Star Wars mentions the many Bothans who died to bring us the plans, but they don't tell you what happened or who the Bothans were.
So there's these rebel people who the kings allow to live there?
Well, it specifically says that they're not rebels, but yeah, sure.
That's
how you interpret that sentence.
They're freewheeling people.
Yes. The kings have no problem with it, though. The kings are just they're chill about the whole independent people.
Wow, that is true, yeah. So they took that whole thing out. Okay.
It does not specifically, I don't know if we go on to learn who these people are who inhabit the plains here.
Okay. But in the West, the unicorns live, and that's the farmland, the rich farmland? Is that your understanding? The westernmost part of the land of Antigua was mostly farmland, and that's where the centaurs lived.
But the western part is also were mountains that led to where the unicorns live. Phew, okay. Because it would be hard to have mountains and farmland. But then again, you also have the central plains, which were covered with forests and trees. Which that's
what?
when you think about the Great Plains of America,
Great Plains.
or that's
Talk about mighty forests.
yes, it's the one defining aspect of this type of region. How is that possible?
Okay, so toward the west, where I think this is repeated, toward the west were the Miniwads and Centaurs.
Okay.
Exclamation point. I didn't give it the proper.
Got it.
The Miniwads were very tiny people of only 4 feet tall. Here's the one that stuck out at me. Like, I think their size is going to mean that... do not let their size fool you. Damn it. I was going to be ready to be fooled, but no.
So think about how long it's been since we talked about the Miniwads, in the first 15 minutes of this podcast. This is where it gets to telling you that. So this whole time, I've been fooled by their size, and they just spring this on me now.
Oh, so you were thinking this entire time as you were imagining teenage mermaids, you were also imagining tiny little
I'm doing
elves.
that most of the time, to
Sure.
be honest. But yeah, I was like just tiny people who are just like terrible warriors and not dedicated at all to protecting their way of life in the land of Antigua.
You were fooled.
I was, yeah.
by their size.
I am the fool.
Yeah.
But it does sort of get into the world building. The Miniwads made items to be sold at the marketplace. They knit sweaters, blankets, and hats. They make wooden statues and souvenirs. So if you visit the Great Plains of Antigua and want a coffee mug that has some of the beautiful forests and trees, the Miniwads can get one of those for you. One of those floating pens. That's what I used to collect at museums and stuff, where you tilt it and it shows like 3 Miniwads venturing into the forest of the Central Plains.
Me, I'll take some shot glasses and an ashtray if you don't mind.
Sure.
But whatever you want.
We get this about, I think it's about the Miniwads, which I was fooled yet again. I thought they were lazy people who started their days late in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. They were hardworking people who started their days early in the morning and ended their days late at night. They were not afraid of a hard day's work.
He gets very specific, though. The king did not believe in laziness.
Oh.
I assume he believed it existed. He did not believe.
Yeah.
He believed that his people had to work hard to make a profit and to ensure the prosperity of future generations. He wanted all the inhabitants of his kingdom to take pride in their land and treat it with respect. He would often tell them that if you treat your land with respect and pride, it will reward you with the best harvest possible.
And I
don't know. He doesn't sound that great.
But
king.
Does he? He sounds a little like Bob Crane.
That's what I was going to say. If you treat your land with respect.
If we learn to care for others, to respect others, we'll learn how to care for, to respect our country. That's the great seal of Antigua bears that phrase.
Yes.
I do not believe in laziness. Therefore, if we learn to care for others.
Yeah.
Well, so we were all fooled about the Miniwads, or at least I was.
Sure.
I mean, I admit it. Fool me once. I will not be fooled about the Centaurs. And this is good because it says... the Centaurs were half man and half horse. They came in all different sizes and colors. The top of them were made of men and women.
Were made of men and women.
Describe them in a Cronenbergian body horrorist way possible.
Wow.
It's like, the serial killer has assembled them in his basement to look that way. It's how to accurately describe it while sounding completely insane.
Yeah. So following that up, though, directly after, there were also children centaurs living in the westernmost province of the land of Antigua, which is the one we're currently talking about, right?
Yes.
That's where they live.
The great farmland separated from the plains by the mountains.
The top of them were made of men and women. There were also children centaurs living in the westernmost province. What?
And the bottom half of the centaurs were made of beautiful horses. Oh, yeah.
I mean, these horses. You take a horse, normally a horse is
the haunches of them there. That's all you're really looking at, the haunches.
Right down to those hooves.
Yeah, they flip the tails up when they got to take a dump. That's what you got to do. That's what the beautiful horses do. It's just an odd way to describe it. I don't know.
Also, don't we learn later, spoiler alert, that these are unicorns as well?
There's a lot of confusion about the unicorns.
Okay. We'll get to that.
I think a centaur might be the king of the unicorns, and the parsing of that gets very, very difficult, but also very funny.
Okay.
I don't think we harped on it, but the king's King Arthur's Bob Crane quote: "If you treat your land with respect and pride, it will reward you with the best harvest possible." He would often tell them that.
Yeah.
He was often saying that.
So I don't know if he gathered them into the throne room or this is just something that he said, like a dad tells his favorite joke, like, yes, we heard it.
Yep. Or like, like a campaign.
If you treat your land with respect. Yeah.
Yeah. He's at his rally. If you treat your land, and then the whole crowd, with respect and pride, it will reward you with the best harvest possible. Woo, he said it.
His catchphrase.
Yes.
All right. So now we get to, this is just the world building. So we're learning about the centaurs. I wasn't really clear on the 4 provinces and how they all worked. I confess my eyes were rolling back in my head a little bit about that.
I mean, you do that in a well-written masterwork of the genre. You do that in Tolkien. You do that in George R.R. You're going to be like, just get to the fucking battle here. Like I cannot have to deal with which sir runs the Lord of Coin in the lands of the South. It's not important.
No, but what you are going to have to pay attention to, because I'm going to quiz you right now, the 7.
Oh yeah.
King Arthur's knights,
yeah.
Led by 7 knights that everyone called the 7. They were brave men. They lived within the royal castle and were always at the king and queen side to protect them. I'm going to hit you with a name, and you tell me if you can give their characteristics.
Oh, God. All right, fine. I won't look at my notes. I'll do it.
Sir Alistair.
Wise.
Wrong. He's courageous.
Damn it.
Sir Barrington.
Strong. I've got it in front of me.
Yes, some thought that he had the strength of 5 men. Barrington's like, why the qualifier, man?
I think he has a strength of 6. It was a compliment. Come on.
Sir Nigel.
Young?
He's wise.
Ah!
Sir Philip, I'll give you a hint. Sir Philip is kind of like a shark.
He's the best swordsman in the land.
He's a sword fighter,
yes.
Sir Ralph.
They stand out so much when it's just the funny names. Is he the old one?
No, Sir Ralph is kind.
Okay.
Sir Willoughby.
He's old.
He's old and respected, which leaves the obvious thing. Samuel.
Sir, the young one.
He's young.
Yeah, yes. They could not think of 7 traits. They got through 5, and they went with young and old.
And young.
And so the 7... As you'll learn here, she uses one of our favorite techniques that you'll see on chalkboards outside of restaurants: the unnecessary quotation marks. Every time they are mentioned in the book, it is like they were escorted by the 7, and they're called out like this the whole time, and it is quickly undermined that they were always at the king and queen side to protect them because they immediately go out into the woods and start killing goblins and stuff.
Yes. By the way, the unnecessary quotation marks. I don't know. There was probably a blog of it like 14 years ago.
Yeah, there was a Tumblr OG.
Always makes me laugh. Just the fact that people panic. Like, I know there has to be quotation marks around something, so they just panic and put it around a word like you said, like, we on special today, carrots, in quotation. Like, wait, are those scare quotes? Those aren't actually carrots?
Yeah.
Those crack me up.
But it's just so that it's not like it doesn't exist. Underlining is a very easy way to call attention to something, and you do that when you're like, on a whiteboard for a class or something.
Sure.
I want to go back to Sir Barrington, who, do you remember off the top of your head which one he is?
He's strong.
Okay, yes. But
some say the strength of 5 men.
But you're probably assuming he was born that way. He was able to lift over 600 pounds of weight all by himself. He was very strong.
Sure.
He wasn't born that way.
Oh, damn it.
He just worked out a lot with weights to build his muscles up and tone his body, which is just amazing. I'd like to imagine, Denise is sitting at the computer pounding away, and Larry's maybe they're like in a beachfront condo or something. Larry's wearing an open floral shirt. He's coming in. He's just like drinking Coronas and just keeps coming in more red faced, being like, put in that he worked out a lot. Otherwise, they're going to think he was born that way. It's important. All right, I'm going back to the tiki bar.
Oh, I like your version of Larry and Denise.
Sure.
That works for me.
Oh, man, do you think there's a Denise in this book? We'll have to take bets about that. If there's a mini wad named Denise. So we've had Sir Larry.
Maybe a beautiful horse named Denise.
And then we have, this is good. Samuel fought with a special stick.
Mm-hmm.
I think, which one is Samuel? Samuel's the youngest. He fought with a special stick and was actually accredited with encouraging the princess to learn how to use a stick to defend herself. So he
got actual accreditation?
Yeah, he went before a board and was accredited with that. There was another guy who was going to teach the princess to use a stick, but they found out that he wasn't abiding by his teachers didn't have the right degrees or anything like that, so he was stripped of his accreditation.
Right. It's kind of like the appellations in wine, right? They weren't always around. One day someone said we should probably get our crap together and figure out what stick fighting is and start accrediting people with it.
And we got a special stick, and there's probably no better way if you are ever attacked by a special mongoose to defend yourself. If you find yourself in the lair of the white worm, eating walnuts, and special mongoose bursts in, that's the best way to ward it off. And because this is not the only mention of the special stick. The special stick is key to the plot here.
Yes. So during the accreditation process, the training, this happens. The knight Sir Samuel was pleased with the progress that Princess Trina had made in her training. Samuel started laughing and rolling around on the ground. He said, "Good princess, good indeed."
That was good.
What is happening there?
That was going to be the one where when you were teaching your sons how to throw a ball or something when they were 5, and you were pleased with their progress, how you responded.
But also there's no comma after good prince, so he's not saying good princess. He's just going, "Good princess." Rolling around on the ground, laughing and shouting, "Good princess."
Have you ever actually ROFL'd in real life? Like, that's just I've laughed till I've cried. I've slapped my knee. Like, I don't think that I've ever fallen to the ground and rolled on the floor laughing.
No, I don't think so. I think maybe once we were sent to the principal's office in 6th grade because the teacher farted or something, and we got that laughing fit where they go, "Stop laughing right now," and then you of course laugh more. Yeah.
That would be something you'd have to probably retire from as a teacher. You'd have to enter the teacher witness protection program. There's no way to recover from that in 6th grade. But then, the knight Sir Ralph had an appropriate reaction to this, I think. It may not be appropriate for the land of Antigua, but he walked up to the knight Sir Philip and the knight Sir Barrington. The 3 knights of the king bowed their head to the princess. Sir Ralph asked, "Sir Samuel, whatever are you doing down there on the ground? Are you nuts, my friend?" So that's just a good expression that survives in this land.
What year are they trying to mimic here? What is it? We also get this curious thing. So he's going to show off his student. I don't know if she's going to be accredited or what happens.
Sure.
But Ralph says, "Yes, by all means, please give us a demonstration." The knight Sir Philip said, "My lady, if you please, let's begin." The princess smiled and then started practicing with the knight Sir Samuel again as the other knights watched. A year had passed, and Princess Trina had become one of the best warriors in her kingdom. A year had passed since what? Since they started the demonstration?
Yeah.
I don't understand what's happening.
Well, yeah, was it one of those things where they were locked in, like the 3 knights that came up and asked, "Are you nuts?" They were forced to stand there and watch this demonstration
for a year, I guess. I don't know.
So yeah, she's using the special stick. It says that she was had it specially made for her by the royal carpenter, who probably was "Oh, what? She needs a special stick? Oh yeah, this one. I specially made this stick." This is going to have special powers. Give that one to the princess. Really worked hard to make that stick.
Yeah. Probably said in the voice of Norm Macdonald. Stick? Yeah, I got one. This is a special stick here. This is one of my favorite. There's a couple of these where the paragraph, this is just the way it was presented to me in the PDF, which is canon.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it looks in the book, but one of my favorite paragraph changes ever. King Arthur said, "Of course, daughter, you are excused." Princess Trina got up and walked out of the parlor. New paragraph. There was a pink fairy named Prinkai.
Yep. Whiplash. It is
Wow.
Just 100% presented that way in the Kindle. Like, it is just a absolute record scratch, 180 type of moment.
Which is followed by, it's right after that. The fairy Prinkai could see his anger. She flew out of the burnt cottage as fast as she could before the great wizard Thranduil could lift up his magic wand and destroy her. New paragraph. The centaur Olympus of the westernmost kingdom of the land of Antigua galloped out of the barn and yelled for the young centaur Euclepsis. Oh, that's good stuff.
It is. And the sort of weird, there's some of these that I looked up. I cheated and looked up whether they happened, but you get these asides, and some of them are obviously the only time the character's mentioned. I do not know if Prinky is one of these. I didn't look it up. But in some other books, you might do this less clumsy, just like here's what's happening in the kingdom. There's pink fairies, there's Euclepsis the centaur, all this stuff. This is not how this is presented. This is just like a rough draft that never goes anywhere, wedged into a story that you're led to believe is the important part of the story.
It is. So I guess I could look in the book right now if you've got something else there, and I'll tell you whether those are just jammed together.
Well, the only thing that happened I thought of note in the Prinky section was that she is trying to help the wizard, but she's sort of a mischief maker, and she grabs a jar and he yells, "Don't open that, it's too late." 50 aggressive bees flew out of the jar and attempted to sting the great wizard Thranduil and the fairy Prinky. So it's just, we've got sharks, we've got bees, we're essentially having a fantasy Wicker Man here.
Right. Just checked. Those are just contiguous in the book.
Okay, good.
Well.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Yeah. There's no line between them to show that, like, put your mind in a different place now. Nope.
They do have a carriage return, it appears, because the entire Prinky section is one paragraph there, and as was the entire Knight Sir Samuel is pleased with the progress Sir Princess Trina is making up until she appears before him and he tells her she's being too conceited about her special stick usage. So she uses the return button very, very rarely.
I wonder, in your version, does Larry come in from the pool? He's dipped his feet in, but it's still 10 in the morning, so he's not going to wade all the way in yet. But he met an insurance salesman who seems like a pretty fun guy. Yeah, he's 3 beers in already. And then he comes in and he goes like, "Honey, you had a great idea for marketing. Put a fairy in there, like that's a mischievous. Make it pink. Girls like pink. I'm gonna hit the deck."
Yeah, right. Yeah, they got a limbo contest at 11:30. It would explain some of the names. He's like, "Well, Larry, what should I call the fairy? Frankie. I don't know. Thranduil. What? Thranduil? I don't know. Whatever." "Oh, they're playing Bob Marley out there. You got to get out of here, babe."
You keep adding R's to things. Well, okay, I'll put it in the book.
There you go. There's our theory.
But I will just say, and I don't want to, again, spoiler alert, there are other mischievous fairies coming up in the book. Mm-hmm. So why do we just have this huge aside of this mischievous fairy? Prinky.
I don't know. She's pretty but annoying. She has a squeaky voice. I don't think it's specified how old she is, though.
Damn it. All right. Anyway, there's another one. There's possibly 4 of them coming up. Yes. I couldn't quite make out. Yeah. So anyway.
Well, it focuses for a while on the centaurs here. So we have Olympus, and then we have the young centaur Euclepsis. But we get several more centaurs, and it starts sort of a trend that happens here where you get tossed a whole bunch of characters at once.
Oh my God, this is delightful.
There's a brief scene of centaurs carrying hay. I'm just going to read it because I enjoyed it. The centaur Naphtali galloped over to the pile of hay. She lifted up a bale of hay and carried it into the barn. The centaurs Pandora and Delphinia did the same. The 3 female centaurs helped the centaur Olympus carry hay into his barn. So that's a scene. and then they're looking for the centaur Euclepsis. They can't find him. And then we get this. The centaurs, I'm saying all these out loud for the first time. The centaurs Aberlardo, Falconer, Amemphis, Erebus, Heracles, Acharon, Tabor, and Kaisho were all at the center Barakaya's barn.
But you get two great jokes in this centaur scene. Right after that, they were busy making weapons of steel for the battle that lay ahead of them. The centaurs Pandora, Naphtali, and Delphinia galloped over to them. Pandora asked, "What's happening, centaurs?" Which I laughed. That's a good joke. Sure. And then this is a good one. This is a great way to, just a tip for everyone out there to get out of a boring centaur conversation. Mm-hmm. The centaur Naphtali said, "Well, we've been here long enough. We better get going." So.
Yeah, I reckon. Beat centaur
See you, centaurs.
Yep.
The centaurs, they're not painting a good picture of them. They seem very dull.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that they are sort of talking in vernacular, stuff like that. But we get this exchange. It gives a little more insight into their world, too. Pandora says to Tabor, "Be a gentleman and show some respect." And Centaur Tabor said sarcastically, "I don't have to be a gentleman. I'm a horse." The centaur Pandora said, "Yes, you are half horse, but the other half of you is a man, so there's no excuse for you being so rude to us. The part of you that's a horse can be the jerk that you want. The part of you that's a man must be a gentleman." I mean, are they having this type of discussion frequently, where they sort of explain to each other their biological composition here?
Yeah, if you're a centaur and always been a centaur, are you aware that you?
Yeah. It's not like they just had a Freaky Friday or a The Fly teleporter switch situation where he's just experiencing centaurdom for the first time.
Well, I guess if the top half of them was made of a man and woman, then maybe they were like created after they were born and got sentient, and then all of a sudden they became centaurs.
Yeah. Do I have to be a gentleman? I've got a woman's arm sticking out of the middle of my chest because I was made that way.
How's this for world building? The young centaur speaks nonsense. I think he must have been sipping on too much blueberry juice from the woods. that well-known corrupter of young centaurs.
And he was sipping on it out there. He was taking each blueberry, juicing it, and then sipping it. Well, it's also more world building. It gets a lot thrown at us here because as the evil sorceress Gwendevier looms large along with her blue dragon Voltrar, they are making weapons for her, but we don't know a lot about her. They specify that the weapons for battle they are making because she's sure to call upon her army of goblins and trolls to attack us from the ground. And don't forget about all of her Black Panthers. Those animals are a force to be reckoned with. So it is one way of world building to just continually remind your fellow, centaurs, mini-wads, whatever, about the world that they live in.
Right. We're going to have another battle with the Roman army. Like, oh boy, I hope they're not carrying those Roman swords that they use.
Yes. Their phalanx of 300 can be quite formidable. They pack in with each other to eliminate the...
And let's not forget about those shields that they interlock, shall we?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if the Black Panthers are not technically part of an army, since the army of goblins and trolls, if they're their own thing, if they're like the westernmost plains dwellers, they're independent, but the king is chill with it type of thing. We'll see, hopefully.
They also say not to forget, after reminding them not to forget about the Black Panthers, let's none of us forget about the mighty power of the Blue Dragon Voraltrar. So, I mean, he could pretty much do the job himself, right?
It sounds like it. Although, you know, based on his the first scene of the book where he burnt the village and did not kill a single person, maybe he's not powered to do that. Maybe he's, you know, taken a sworn oath to not destroy life. He only destroys property, type of thing.
Oh, that could be.
He's the reverse.
Yes,
what is
true.
what is the bomb that leaves buildings standings but doesn't kill people? He could be that in reverse.
Mm-hmm. So then we get into the weird thing where the blueberry sipping centaur
Euclepsis.
I think he just has he has a seizure of some sort. Right? He just sees the witch, the
evil sorceress.
He sees a vision of her. And that just like shakes up the Centaur Village like nothing could possibly have ever done. He runs out of the woods and says, "I saw the witch," and they're all like, "Good Lord! Well, we have to move now."
Yeah,
which I didn't quite understand. Like, if your kid says there's a monster in my closet, do you immediately empty your house out and call the police?
Well, if the monster was, you know, known to loom large with an army of goblins, trolls, and don't forget about her Black Panthers, maybe. You know?
Sure.
But here's how that you described that, and that sounded like quite a scene. You know, he emerges from the woods. He's shaken by this thing. He has a seizure. They're all moving into it. Here's how it's described in the actual text. Just at that moment, the centaur boy Euclepsis, who was just 15 years old, galloped out of the woods. That sounded like an almost spit take there. Galloped out of the woods and headed towards Olympos's barn. Now, just to drill down, we've been talking about centaurs for probably 2,000 words here in the book. Mm-hmm. And here is how it's described as he gallops towards the barn. Euclepsis was half horse and half teenager. The top of him was a boy. The bottom half of his body was a brown horse. No word on how beautiful that horse is. Maybe she showed restraint because he is specified to be 15. But yeah, he says something has happened. The sorceress. Euclepsis couldn't catch his breath. He was so excited he couldn't stand still.
Wow. But we get a little more of his character here. The centaur Olympos said, "A young centaur may be lazy and irresponsible, but he's not a liar." So honesty is something that I have drilled into him over the years, but not responsibility,
no,
or hard work. So falling down on the job, Olympos.
Yeah, that sort of violates King Arthur's creed, doesn't it?
For sure. Yes.
And also, it's like, I am in the middle of a panic attack. Can the flat insults please hold off for a second? Like,
could you at least have qualified it with some say that he's lazy and irresponsible? Please.
But then he was already headed towards Olympus's barn, but I guess he just talked to Pandora, and now he's the young centaur Euclepsis galloped as fast as he could towards the centaur Olympus's barn. So I guess he stopped halfway there, where we get this. I think it's another list of centaurs here. The centaurs Pandora, Naphtali, Delphinia, Abelardo, Falconer, Tabor, Erebus, Heracles, Acheron, Amemphis, Kaisho, and Barakiah all stopped what they were doing and galloped after the centaur Euclepsis. And this is something that she's going to keep doing. It's going to be as if you were telling the story of Snow White, and every time she did something, you had to be like, and then, sneezy, dopey, doc, bashful, I can't remember anymore. All did happy, grumpy, all did this. You just named them every single time they went anywhere. Does this with a race of mermen. She does it with knights. They do it with centaurs, elves.
I wish to God she had done it with the, spoiler alert, there's a phalanx of 50 knights. She names all the 7 knights, but if she had named the 50 knights,
yeah,
that would have been the best thing ever.
The 7 knights are later joined by 50 knights. They emphasize that to a hilarious degree, but I don't think she ends up naming the rest of the 50.
All right, so So what do you do when a lazy and irresponsible teenage centaur has a vision and you determine that he hasn't been sipping blueberry juice in the woods? There's only one thing to do, I think.
I would personally defer to Abelardo here.
Okay.
Maybe if he wasn't up for it, I'd go to a Memphis, but I don't know. What's your theory?
Well, I mean, I think you got to gallop away at speed. Hopefully you can go see the mini-wads Ruth, Delilah, Charlie A., Buster, Elena, Aaron, Donovan, Elijah, Ambrosia, and Cornelius. I mean, that's what I would do. Again, that's me. So I don't know.
No, I mean, you just got to be happy, I think, that Charlie A. is there. And to emphasize, if you are just listening along, that is Charlie A. spelled the same way as Charlie A. Octopus.
Yep, the nosy octopus Charlie A. There is a mini-wad with that same name. So,
just imagine, just the 5 years ago, imagining yourself saying there was a mini-wad with the same name as the octopus.
What have I done
that it was
with
something
my
you were
life?
doing voluntarily.
Yes.
Well, this part of the book is where I essentially made the realization that it was like, oh, this author is doing Dwight David Thrash 64 squares public accountant type of thing.
Yeah, just like, filling words.
But the weird drilling down, the repeating of the names of the centaurs who've already established, listing all those things. I don't know what's in the water that these Amazon authors are drinking, but what makes them do that? But it is absolutely crazy that we've encountered multiple authors who feel the need to do this.
Yeah, so it's kind of like there's lots of like little fairy tales that do that, right? But those are 12 pages long or whatever, where you say then the people did this, and then like Chicken Little or something. Then Chicken Little went to this person and said the sky is falling, or what
Yeah, oh yeah. I don't mean that the plot. I mean the saying the mini-wads Ruth, Delilah, Charlie A.
Oh no,
Buster,
I know.
Aaron,
Yes.
Elena, Donovan, Elijah, Ambrosia, and Cornelius.
Yes.
And that's not the last time those are going to be listed. So like that's Dwight David Thrash being like, me went there along with Veronica, blah blah blah, so and so the forensic certified public accountant.
So what keeps happening is like they all just keep meeting new people, and then they go, what are you guys doing? And like, he saw the witch in the woods. Oh, that is grave news indeed. And then once again list all their names, and then they go and see and then they move on to the next person, right? So it's a group of mini-wads and centaurs are going to see the king. Is that where we are in the plot?
Yes, they're all, they've decided that they need to go see King Arthur because I don't know why it was so shocking that Guinevere was in the woods, but I think it's just turf she hasn't explored before, so they sense a new threat.
But then, so they ride up, they finally see there's someone, I guess, patrolling the land of King Arthur, and it's the knight Sir Paul.
Nice.
Sir Paul asked, what are you centaurs and mini-wads doing here at the castle of King Arthur? So, a little nod to McCartney or Sir Paul?
Yeah, I mean,
I hope it's him. What are you doing here at the castle of King Arthur?
He's just Sir George has left in disgust at this point in the story.
So that he just takes them into. Once again, we just go to King Friday's place, right?
Yep. And Sir John is right there too.
Really?
Yeah, the knight Sir John said, "Follow me." Sir John led them into the castle.
Sir John and Paul. I missed that.
Wow, little jokes.
Was John Lennon knighted?
I don't know.
I don't know if he was Sir. He has to be, posthumously, probably. But
but so yeah, when he leads them in, you get this sentence. When the centaurs Euclepsis, Delphinia, Amemphis, Erebus, Heracles, Olympus, Abelardo, Falconer, Tabor, Cato, Barachia, I think that's a first appearance, Pandora, Naphtali, and Acharon arrived with the mini-wads, Ruth, Delilah, Charlie A., Buster, Elena, Aaron, Donovan, Elijah, Ambrosia, and Cornelius on their backs. The king, queen, and princess looked over at them curiously. My God.
I just about whipped my computer. I just tipped
Sure.
my monitor over and then went and got the book from the other room and threw that out the window.
The sentence is so bad that it made me pronounce Buster and Aaron wrong. There are two normal names in there, and I couldn't say them correctly because it's like looking at an illusion. You think you see other names that are miswritten as well.
All right, so we survived that, and that's like, please listen, O King. We got one hell of a story for you. But before that, the maidens Johanna, Regina, Angelica, Charlotte, Tamika, Tahira, Samantha, and Davila all bowed their heads to the royal family and then guided the mini-wads to the change. Come on, man. That's when I was like, you got to stop this.
Yeah. You mean the naming?
Yes, the naming. And by the way, this happened after the Centaur Euclepsis, the irresponsible and lazy teenage Euclepsis, just recounted the story.
Yes. Yeah,
like
we had that.
Word for word of what he had already done 3 times?
Yes. He had come back from the forest. He had told the other centaurs. He told one centaur what he said. They said, we better go get the other centaurs. He told them, and now he's told it to the king.
But I think he told it then to the mini-wads as well.
Oh, got it. Yep.
And did he tell it to Sir Paul and Sir John? A shorter version, maybe?
He shows a shorter version, yeah.
Okay.
He told her she was in the woods, essentially.
Okay.
But also, since they've named all those maidens, don't forget that they also said, we here at the castle have all been hearing rumors of strange sounds and happenings in and around the woods of this kingdom. The 7 head knights of King Arthur, which includes the knight Sir Alistair, the knight Sir Barrington, the knight Sir Nigel, the knight Sir Philip, the knight Sir Ralph, the knight Sir Willoughby, and the knight Sir Samuel, have already been ordered by my father to search the woods.
Wow.
So that's that gets there. But here's something that really caught my eye. It says they will be searching for anything strange in the woods and shall destroy it, King Arthur said. We want all of the inhabitants of the kingdom of the west to be safe. We shall leave no stone unturned. Knights, I want you to search every inch of the woods and destroy all of the sorceress's goons and creatures. Do not take any prisoners. Destroy each and every one of them. So the sorceress has goons. She doesn't just have goblins, trolls, and Black Panthers. She's got hired goons that are just lurking in there doing her business, like shaking people down. She's got a sack full of quarters that they're hitting people with.
Sure, yeah.
Just not. It's unique in fantasy, I thought, to employ goons as opposed to mystical creatures, anything like that. Just like guys with pipes, blackjacks type of thing.
Well, I mean, is this a crossover from the land of orphanages and backpacks?
Right, yeah. Who's to say if a car spun out on a winding road because some goons had been there the other day and cut the brakes?
I suspect the goons.
Yeah.
That's right. That's going to come back, isn't it?
It might. But the goondom of the land of Antigua, because the goons are not mentioned on the cover. It's the land of fairies, wizards, and heroes. But all of a sudden, we learned that there were goons hiding in the forest.
Yeah, sure.
I was very curious about that, and so I paid the first visit that I did of this book to the dark web to sort of see what was going on. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's VPN-ified Tor browser, and it turns out that the lack of continuity between Kindle, hardcover, paperback has really torn these communities asunder on the dark web because they like to reenact the books on there. They like to speculate about things, but you've got whole different things because you're like, oh, I'm going to reenact the Euclepsis galloping scene. Am I going to do it from the paperback version or the Kindle version? And people just are at their throats if you make one decision or the other.
Oh, sure. I mean, I assume it's as much passion as, like the two popes, or when the kingdom was split between Constantinople and Rome.
Oh, I mean, it takes those and it escalates them with gifs of Chris Evans.
Right,
it's as
sure.
if they had been able to use those in Rome back in the
you have the Reformation,
10th century.
And then you have the Counter-Reformation, and so you add the Apocrypha into the official Roman Catholic Bible, and then fights break out. So I assume that's what's happening here.
Martin Luther nails the 95 Theses to the door, and then some other guy comes by and just has the picture of the gif of Thor pointing up and saying this.
Yes.
to indicate he agrees with Martin Luther. But so that's what the dark web is like in this book. It's just just a disaster. It's very uncivil, and since it's the dark web, people can do all sorts of things that don't even fly in the regular internet. I don't want to get into them, but they did explore the world of what the goons are like in the forest. I was very interested to hear this, and it turns out it's there are mafia goons lurking out there.
Oh wow, okay, so that's how these people that's how they fill it in.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and in their world at least, that's their headcanon. So you don't want to contradict that. You don't want to be, you don't want to have the GIF of Sarah Connor in Terminator 2 holding the fence, her skeleton being exploded like that. You don't want them to do that to you.
No, as a different author said, I don't want to yuck their yum.
What was that?
That was Ernest Cline.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh yeah, that would be bad. I don't want to have my yuck yummed, and I don't want to yum anyone's yuck on the dark web. Please,
sure,
save your gifs, everybody. But we do have a reenaction of, or I guess more of a speculative fiction of what it would be like to be amongst these goons in the forest.
Okay, and who's paying for the VPN when you go onto the dark web with your Tor browser?
Well. Guess who diverted the funds before you could? Yeah, right. Yeah, we're
That's
entering
why the account was empty.
a new fiscal year and new fiscal policies over here at 372.
All right, well, let's give this expensive piece of recreation a spin.
Thank you. You had Jimmy and Tommy and me. And then there was Bernardo the Lumberjack and Sir Larry's brother, Fat Merman, and Frankie the Mini Walk, and Jim Reed 2 times, who got that nickname because he described everything that happened twice.
They were hard-working people. They were not afraid of a hard day's work.
For us to live any other way was, as Sir Ralph would say, nuts.
Hey, Salvatore!
Hey, what do you want, Vrini? How come you gotta lean out of your tree and yell at me over here in my tree?
Well, I was stringing out my undershirts on this clothesline that runs between our trees, and I saw you over there stringing out your undershirts, and I figured, bada bring, reach out and touch someone.
But hey, Vinny, you gotta respect my privacy, see? Like, I don't gotta mention that new painting you got hanging in your tree, even though I seen you put it up.
Oh, you saw that, yeah, that's a gift from my mom's. One centaur goes one way, the other centaur goes the other way.
That's art, baby.
Hey! But hey, you hear about Fat Merman?
Oh, no. He get whacked?
Hey, capiche? King Antigua offed him himself.
Hey, rest in peace. He was only 15 years old. I'll say a prayer to whichever deity we worship here if the Ellises ever get around to that level of world building.
Amen. I'm sending his mer-widow a sippity ham.
Hey, let me get in on that. Let's split the cost. I'd like to contribute to the gift.
Hey, you don't gotta spell it out for me. You don't have to say it twice. I understood you the first time, negating the need for repetition. But get out of here. Buy your own ham.
Hey, I made an Antiguan currency here. Look at this stack of cash. Look how small it is.
Wow, that is a mini-wad.
You're telling me. Those ghost witches ain't been paying their protection money lately. You ever try shaking down a ghost? Your hands go right through them. Hey, forget about it.
Hey, Shral, that's funny.
Funny? Funny how? Like I'm a clown? Like I amuse you?
No, that was a funny story.
Oh, I understand.
Your attempt to grab a non-corporeal being is humorous in a cartoonish physical comedy way, and when you add in the fact that it subverts your image as a tough guy, it makes it even more amusing.
I see that now. It was quite funny.
Well, hey, I gotta get going. Gotta do a thing for the sorceress upstate.
Sounds good. I'll imagine the coda of an epic 70s rock ballad playing out over the visually significant parts of your journey, since if we actually included it, it would trigger a copyright strike, and we'd have to cut this bit in order to monetize this on YouTube.
You got book spots, Sral. That's why you gotta go far.
Hey, Verini, you stay off of them winding roads, you hear?
Oh, forget about it!
Reach out and touch someone. Why did he quote a 4-decade-old AT&T ad?
Well,
there you have it. That's
money well spent.
Money well spent. Just talented actors out there on the dark web. Just a deep appreciation of mafia tropes and authentic accents, really, is what I take away.
I wonder why it has to be on the dark web. That doesn't seem like anything that needs It could just be on the web.
I think it was a slip of the tongue maybe 3 years ago, and that's why we find ourselves doing this. That's...
All right.
Well, yeah, so you mentioned the maidens, Johanna, Regina, two N's,
yes.
Angelica, Charlotte, Tamika, Tara, Samantha, and Davila. They were insisted to... It says, maidens, please assist these mini-wads to the changing chambers and let them freshen up before the meal. Knights, please guide these centaurs to the showers and let them freshen up before the meal.
Yeah, these are the knights. You're talking about Roland, Petersburg, Winthrop, Appleberg, and Morgan?
I'm especially talking about Sir Appleberg, yes.
Okay.
That's one of my favorites. He's also a good time food and drink establishment.
Sure.
Place you can get a big... fishbowl-sized blue curacao drink for. They don't tell you what the price is on the menu, but
well, at his place, you could eat salad out of a bowl of bread and be the happiest man alive.
So it says here the showers that the centaurs were guided to. Who do you think got more screwed here? The maidens who had to help the mini wads freshen up, or the knights who had to take the centaurs to the horse showers?
Well, I would say if the maidens, you're taking them to freshen up, and then don't let their small stature fool you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, right. There's pockets of stench on a mini-wad's body you could not even begin to fathom.
Right.
But it says here, the showers that the centaurs were guided. So they do have showers. I'm not certain when, that would have been an invention in the time of man, but usually see medieval people taking baths in these type of things.
Mm-hmm.
But the showers that the centaurs were guided to were the same ones the horses were washed up under. The centaurs took turns 5 at a time standing underneath the showers and washing off. And I think we've had about 75 showers mentioned, so that's still a lot of showers.
Yeah.
Servants were standing near with towels in their hands to dry the centaurs off after they showered. They then brushed their manes and tails.
Yes.
So do you think were the centaurs, are they insulted by this? They get taken to the horse showers? Do they accept it as, their lot in life because they are half horse?
Or do they just, it's kind of like, we don't know if they're doing the same thing to the mini-wads, by the way. Hosing them off.
Right, yes. Yeah.
And then standing by with towels. And then the mini-wads, too, are just going like, I guess this is how they do this in their kingdom?
Yeah.
Would we be insulting our hosts if we don't let them, towel my wang off?
Yeah,
I don't know.
The knights are like, we're going to need a bigger towel. Turns out that Abelardo is packing, and or are they just doing the Wizard of Oz? They're all like, towel off here, towel off there, continue toweling off there because it's big. We all da 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 da.
I think that's what we're supposed to be getting, but it is. Again, they have man and woman. They're made of man or woman on the top,
right?
So they're just toweling them off.
It could also be like Silkwood. They're just spraying him down with a fire hose and smoking a cigarette while he does it.
Yeah, or maybe it's more like the the worst prison TV shows, and then they throw the white delousing powder all over in their eyes and everything.
You put that on your man part. That is not for your beautiful horse parts.
Do you think we get any sack talking in this?
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then the centaurs meet up with the mini wads, and they're like, "Man, I'm still itching from that delousing powder." The mini wads are just they've gotten the full makeover. Their nails have been buffed. Their makeup looks great. The what now?
They're wearing those thirsty robes that are way thicker than a robe you buy.
But then, so it says after everyone had freshened up, it was time for the afternoon meal to begin. So it might be the first instance of freshening up in fantasy literature. So
it could be.
And I'm just wondering, too, where is Sir Larry in all of this? Because he came out of the gate strong and has not been mentioned again. And I'm worried. I don't think he's necessarily Blariana's because he's not left in orphanage or sex slavery. But I'm gonna be upset if we don't get another Sir Larry.
Well, I'm a little concerned about Christopher too. I mean, he lives here now, right?
Sure. Yeah.
He's living in a new house.
They built him a village, and the centaurs and mini-wads helped. I mean, when the centaurs came here to build a village all day, did they freshen him up after that, or is it just when they're coming here for this reason?
Oh yeah, good question. Yeah, and how far away that other part of the kingdom?
Right.
I guess if they galloped all day, because it's a pretty cool story.
They do seem to gallop mostly. They travel mostly at a gallop. They're going all out the whole time.
Sure. Okay.
Once they have freshened up, King Arthur and Queen Eleanor Dora were escorted into the royal eating chamber by 20 knights. They go unnamed. Yeah, you cowards. They are not named. I don't know what the most we're ever going to get named. I think it probably is that one sentence where it named all the mini-wads and all the centaurs. That's probably the most we're going to have so far. So if you have anything else, I'll count them as that happens, and that'll be our record so far.
No, I don't have anything else. Where does the chapter end? Because I'm in the chapter 2, that is.
That was
looking in
26 named characters in one sentence.
Wow.
Was that one. So that's our record. The chapter ends just...
the
entertained by
Stiltwalkers,
King's Dancers is the last
Fire
part.
Eaters, acrobats, Stiltwalkers, and circus performers who wandered in and around the castle.
Yeah,
pretty lax security here.
Yeah. You got fire eaters wandering around, like, and are they actively eating the fire while they're sort of just like showing up in the stock room and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the last time I went to a Renaissance fair or festival, whichever you prefer, was many, many years ago.
Good.
And it was 1,000 degrees. It was so hot. And friends and I, we dragged everyone. I think our kids were in strollers. That's how long ago it was. And we get in there, and immediately one of the, like, insult jesters comes up to us. Wow. And I'm pouring sweat because we walked, 75 miles to get to the gate of this thing, and then you pay. You're like, what? It's $45? This guy comes up and he's like, "Thou shorts are very comical to me," and I'm just like, "Get the fuck!"
I will, yeah.
I swear to God, I'm going to kill
punching a jester.
So if a fire eater walked up to me at that point, so it's just, if they're wandering all over, you do have to be like, "Get out of here!"
Yeah.
I'm trying to talk to my friend.
Stiltwalkers, too, wandering all over. Seems ripe for, a workplace accident, potential lawsuit here.
Sure. That's what Sir Larry is. He's accredited in law. So,
nice. Very nice. Yeah. Call Sir Larry, and Larry.
He's on all the benches.
I like this moment, too, because King Arthur starts talking. I'll do one more sequence of sentences that end in exclamation marks.
Okay.
King Arthur said, "Well, I wish she would at least slow down to eat. She can't have all that energy unless she nourishes her body." King Arthur yelled, "Everyone, enjoy the meal and welcome to our castle. I have a surprise for all of you." King Arthur clapped his hands, and suddenly 15 beautiful dancers in exotic costumes came out and danced for the group. So I was, of course, thinking this has got to be the Antigua version of Hot Property.
Well, although if they were beautiful dancers, we don't know if the bottom half of them were horses or not. So.
True. They could just be horses. Yeah. That might be the only thing deemed as beautiful in this moment.
Horse costumes? You put a costume on a beautiful horse.
Make it look exotic. That's what I want to see. Yeah, I don't know. No, just a beautiful horse in a regular costume doesn't do it for me anymore. I'm in too deep now. I gotta see it exotic just to feel normal again.
Anymore. All right.
Well, I mean, we talked in our off time. I think we've hit too much time here. We have another chapter that was part of our assignment that we have read, and there's just so much stuff there.
It's just so rich, and I don't think we've ever done this.
No, we've never done it. We've never read too much. To get to. I mean, I was through the first chapter and I was like, we've been talking about this for an hour, but I think it was more setting the stage, world building the book, and all that. But
sure.
But it'll just make it easier to read next time to go ahead with this. But I think it's in the service of examining this book with the attention that it needs to leave this behind.
that it deserves, of course.
But we do have fanfic. We do have dumb sentences, so we're not calling it here. Let's do let's do fanfic right now.
And now I bet they bitching cause my flow switching, trying to tell me what to write. Up on some fan fiction, can't they just be happy? I no longer have.
All right. Well, here is fanfic or real. It's always tricky out of the gate because you haven't picked up on the subtleties here. Our listeners have not picked up on them, but it's always also exciting because we get to see what we're in for here.
Also, people go, just going ahead in the book, and then tricking me with that stuff. That's always very, very difficult.
Yes. The also, so most of these people are Patreon supporters who support the podcast at patreon.com/372pages. We'd like to thank them, of course. It's been another great year of doing insane, silly stuff on there, and we're truly grateful to everyone who helps support the podcast. It's literally the only reason we do this.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
So, yeah, go on over there and listen to some made-up characters. We interviewed an author of public domain Christmas books recently to see what his secrets were like. A fake author, obviously.
Oh yeah, he had some familiar proclivities. Yeah.
But you've gained insights into our day-to-day life there, stuff that we can't talk about on here. You get every episode early, and so we just really appreciate everyone. That's patreon.com/372pages. Now let's get to the fanfic. 5 of these, they could all be real, they could all be fanfic, or it could be a combination of the two. Here's number 1. Mm-hmm. Suddenly, there was what seemed like a roar. Princess Trina was frightened. Princess Tina pulled out her special stick. A monster was there as if it just appeared. It was gigantic. It was 8 feet tall and seemed to be covered in fur. It was a barrag. It's a barrag, Princess Trina yelled. The knight Sir Adam, the knight Sir Juris, and the knight Sir Pendek heard her. The knight Sir Adam, being the bravest of the knights, was the first knight to ride towards Princess Sasha to save her from the barrag. He saw the barrag making a roaring noise. Princess Trina, he shouted, I will distract the barrag. He meant to make the barrag fight him instead.
Barrag or barrag? I like that pronunciation.
Oh, sorry. Baarag.
Yeah, I like barrag. It's a good name. Toss me that barrag. I think there were 2 Kleinian things in there that I think tipped my hand towards that being fanfic.
Oh, boy.
Good stuff, but fanfic.
What, the seemed like a roar?
Yes.
Okay. Here's number 2. Later that evening, the knight Sir Vladimir got into a fight with some of the local men from the town. The men were walking through an alley and saw the knight Sir Vladimir approaching them alone. One of the men, named Bernardo Thomason, yelled, Well, look, fellows, look at what we have coming here. We have a knight in shining armor. The men started laughing. Another man named Sean Williams yelled, Hey, you think I can be one of them there knights? The last man, named Peter Wellington, yelled, You can be one of them knights, Sean. All you need is a All you need is a shiny, sharp sword. Sean yelled, But I don't have a shiny sword. I just have this here old one. But I tell you what, this here sword is enough to beat some pathetic knight any day. And hey, once we beat him, maybe I can take his sharp sword and then I can become one of them there knights. Peter Wellington yelled, Hey, knight, how about it? Do you think I can become one of them there knights?
All right. So we had a Thomason and a Sean.
Yes. Yeah.
Well. I mean, I'm going to have to say fanfic based on that. I like it.
Thomason was with 2 S's. Sean was Shaun.
Oh.
How does Sean spell his name?
Sean is Sean.
Okay.
He spits on any other spelling of Sean.
Chone Figgins, the former baseball player. Sean hates him.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Number 3. The fairy Prinky stamped her foot. She yelled, Rebecca, I know you want to be a good friend to Princess Trina and respect the centaur boy Euclepsis, but this is a magic poison. Only a kiss can cure it. I would kiss him myself, but I don't have feelings for him the same way you, Princess Trina, do. Rebecca was confused and asked, But wouldn't a kiss from Princess Trina work? I really think me and Princess Trina should discuss which of us should kiss the centaur boy Euclepsis. We should wait until she has come back from helping the Miniwad Terrance back to his village. The fairy Prinky flapped her wings and spun around in the air. She explained, Rebecca, don't you see? The kiss of a girl from Britain is magical to anyone from Antigua. It has the power of a kiss that has crossed the waters of Antigua between our worlds.
Wow. Okay, well, it's tempting me to bite, but I'm going to say it's fanfic because I think that, now, we read ahead, I will confess, that this is knowledge from Chapter 3, that there's a bunch of other fairies.
Yeah, but
I would think they were supplanting Prinky. So this is a bit of a cheat if I'm right about it. If I'm wrong, then it doesn't matter either way. So
yeah, you think that Larry came in the next day and was like, didn't remember the day before. He'd been blacked out. He was like, you know what, honey, we got to have some fairies in there.
Yes, I do.
She was like, oh, no, we put it. Fine, Larry, who are they? All right, we're putting in these fairies. They all got powers, but they don't use them.
Larry, we have Prinky. Who's Prinky?
What?
Here, I'll write a chapter on fairies that'll knock your socks off.
So here's the fairies, the son of a son, son of a son of a sailor. He starts weeping. Your dad wasn't even a sailor, Larry. Anyway, so yeah, you said number 3 was fanfic.
Yeah, I did. It's making me nervous that I've said 3 were fanfic, but what are you going to do?
Okay. Number 4. The knight Sir Victor said, "My king, may I speak?" The knight Sir Horatio yelled, "Sir Victor, you speak nonsense. No one kingdom can defeat the great sorceress and her army, and you forgot about the great blue dragon Vorultrar. What of him? Do you actually think our archers can defeat him? He shall surely attack us from the sky." The knight Victor yelled, "You make us sound like cowards. We cannot run from the sorceress or her dragon. I say we go to battle against the sorceress now before she becomes too powerful." The knight Sir Vincent said, "Sir Victor, the sorceress Guinevere is already powerful. It's too late for that. I agree with Knight Horatio. You are speaking nonsense. Asking our fellow knights in the westernmost and southernmost provinces for help doesn't make us look like cowards. It takes the strength to ask for help. And, my dear friend Victor, we do need help." The knight Sir Victor said, "Oh, you are always so intellectual, aren't you, Sir Vincent?"
What a strange. That's strange enough to make me bite as real.
Okay.
So.
And the final one, number 5. After they had sailed up the river for one full day and one full night, they came to a foggy place where the air was full of mist. The mist was so thick they could hardly see anything. Through the mist they could hear beautiful voices singing. All of the sailors heard the voices and thought they were beautiful, but some of the older sailors were fearful. Captain Sanchez, the Triton, said, "Can you hear those beautiful voices singing?" Rebecca said, "Yes, I hear them. Who could be singing in this misty fog, and why are their voices so beautiful?" The captain replied, "I do not know who could be singing like this, but it could be a trick by the evil sorceress Guinevere." Princess Trina said, "Captain Sanchez, when will we get out of this fog? I can hardly see my hand in front of my face." Captain Sanchez, the Triton, said, "Princess, I don't know when we will get out of this fog. I've never seen anything like this before in my entire life as a Triton boat captain. I think this fog could also be a trap set for us by the evil sorceress Guinevere."
I like the repetition. What is a Triton?
Triton. I don't know. It's up to you whether you think that's made up or whether it comes later in the book.
Is that a trope? Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to say that's fanfic.
All right.
I'm not feeling very confident, I have to admit.
Oh, well, you should feel confident.
Oh, well, shall I?
Yeah, let's see. Number 1. That was suddenly what seemed like was a roar. It's a bear rag, whatever. You said fanfic. That was fanfic written by Patrick.
Good job, Patrick.
Number 2. That was Knight Sir Vladimir, Bernardo Thomason, Sean Williams, Peter Wellington. A lot of last names. You said fanfic. That was real.
What?
Submitted by both Jeff and Craig wrote in for that one. So there's There's a Sean and Bernardo Thomason. So that's very strange.
Oh, everyone's got to give me that one.
What?
You can't hold it. I mean, yeah, but you can't hold it against me. Is what I'm saying.
No, that's insane. It's insane.
It's insane.
Number 3, this was the fairy Prinky trying to get Rebecca to kiss Euclepsis to undo the magic poison. You said fanfic. That was fanfic submitted by Arthur.
Okay.
You're 2.
Arthur?
No, unfortunately. The real way. You're 2 for 3. Number 4, that was the Knight Horatio yelling at Knight Sir Victor and Knight Sir Vincent. Oh, you're always so intellectual. You said real. That was real. Mm-hmm. Submitted by Chap.
Nice.
And then, so you're 3 for 4. Number 5 was Captain Sanchez, the fog, the Tritons, the air is full of mist. You said fanfic. That was fanfic.
Okay.
Also submitted by Chap. That's 4 out of 5 right off the bat. Well done.
Not bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, people caught on to the tropes immediately. So
I think it's going to be tricky just because there are so many one-offs of there being a fairy or a troll goddess that never gets mentioned again. So anything could be lurking.
Here's my theory, by the way. The sort of anachronisms, like, oh, you're always so intellectual, and other things. That's Larry. That's drunken Larry coming in and saying, like, I type a few sentences, and then she's like, well, I was kind of using old timey language. Like, well, you got it to kids like the spicy, more like the real language.
Yes. Yeah, Larry just internalizes whatever he was, the bartender was saying as they cut him off.
Yes.
But I do think that is going to make it tricky because they do lurk there. You can have someone say, "Are you nuts?" type of thing at any given point. You could have goons lurking somewhere. So,
hey, not to. I don't want to lengthen this any more but can I tell you a very quick anecdote?
Please.
Is that I had to have I told you my TV died.
Yeah.
I'm in the business, so I need a TV. So I had to get one right away, and I had to get rid of the other one. And so I called one of those junk removal places.
Oh, boy.
Surprisingly hard to get rid of a TV. Anyway, they show up on every phone call. It was like the nicest voice, like, Mr. Nelson, hey, this is, whatever, junk removal. Good to talk to you. How's it going, boss? And then I was like, boss, okay, well, all right. Good, I'll meet you outside. And then I meet him. He's a giant of a man. He's like 6'8". And he's like, hey, big shooter. And then called me boss like 4 more times.
Wow.
I was like, I don't know whether I'm charmed by this.
I think
it's just speaking of that bartender language of, hey, boss, get you another one there, big shooter.
It's like the opposite of a used car dealer calling you your first name like every sentence. That makes you feel so unnatural.
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure because he was very gregarious and it didn't seem like he was being condescending.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, I don't know. Like, okay, I'll be boss if you want me to be.
Very nice.
Yeah.
From this, we'll see what we have that's not been burned. Once again, a lot of these people are Patreon supporters. We deeply appreciate them. The first one, Chap. He had a special stick made especially for her. If you go in, if you're a part of the Patreon, you can go into the Discord where they have special channel specific emoticons. And Janelle is the moderator. She made a special stick emote so you can talk to people with it. So
that's great.
It's like a stick that is glowing. Daniel said, as the mermaids and Rebecca traveled in and out of the beautiful coral reef of the waters of Antigua, all kinds of exotic ocean creatures passed them. That was the Kleinian 80s dance moves.
Sure.
Jeffrey submitted, oh my God. It was the one that had 23 characters listed in the names. I'm not going to read all the centaurs and mini-wads again. There's one from Jay. It is, your uncle has become a very dangerous merman. And entering in an exclamation mark. Mike submitted, there was plenty of food for everyone. And he said, it's not really a dumb sentence. I just wanted to point out that if you substituted this statement every time George R. Martin listed food in his novels, it would have cut out about 100 pointless pages per novel. So credit where credit's due. This is actually a smart sentence. Olivia and Mandy both submitted the sentence about Rebecca had been to the aquarium in England before and had seen underwater creatures before, but she had never actually swum with them before. And to revisit that, but to point out, as I think Olivia or Mandy did, that aquarium, you might not be able to hear it when I say it, but it is capitalized and written with an N instead of an M. So
yeah, no, I heard that. I heard the aquarian.
Like she's a member of the Age of Aquarius. She is an Aquarian.
Yes. Equestrian Aquarian.
This one is from Justin, and it requires a bit of a setup. The night Sir this is not the sentence. I'll tell you when it's the sentence. The night Sir Willoughby has just yelled, Princess Trina, are you all right? What was that thing? And Justin's sentence is, Princess Trina yelled, I don't know what that thing was. And that's actually for chapter 3. We didn't get there, but, we'll do whatever. Let's see. Jen submitted, her small region was also in danger of being destroyed by the evil sorceress. Janelle submitted, are you nuts, my friend? Braden submitted, they're a tough-looking bunch of fish, which was, I think, was talked about the evil brother merman's gang. Amanda and David both submitted, Euclepsis was half horse and half teenager. It really is about as stupid as it gets. David submitted, the octopuses and squids began to sword fight. Philip submitted, just then, 3 giant sharks with teeth as sharp as swords, several giant warrior octopuses with swords in all their hands, a giant blue whale, and several warrior mermen swam before the king's throne. Oh, Elizabeth submitted this one. We didn't touch on this one. She pointed the flashlight towards this is as Rebecca is escaping the orphanage. She pointed the flashlight toward the stairs so she could see where she was walking without falling down the stairs. That's another maybe remind you that water is wet.
Yes.
Damien submitted the one about giving them food and drink to prevent them from getting thirsty and hungry. Mark submitted the central plains of land of Antigua were covered with forests and trees. He just provided definition of plains, a large land of flat land with few trees. Alejandro, not Alexandro, the king.
Sure. Yep.
The centaur Euclepsis galloped slowly up to the thrones of the king, queen, and princess. He said, the gallop is the fastest gait of the horse. From slowest to fastest it goes walk, trot, canter, and then gallop. Maybe the young centaur Euclepsis is just really out of shape. He says, also, the word centaur appears 333 times in the book. Do you have anything else?
Mine is from chapter 3.
Oh.
So we didn't. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's hold on to it then.
Yes.
Mine is from soon after Rebecca has arrived in the waters of Antigua. Crondria said with great pride, the land of Antigua is the land of fairies, wizards, and heroes. So that's a mermaid saying that, leaving herself out of the whole thing. But I guess she could qualify as a hero at some point in time.
Well, it's like the centaurs. Is she aware? Like I'm a mermaid, but isn't everyone? Like it's weird that you're not a mermaid.
Sure.
So she wouldn't describe herself as a magical creature.
Sure, maybe all she thinks is that Gwendevier is the only thing up there in her dragon Voltrar. She doesn't know anything about mini wads. She's living in bliss, not knowing about mini wads. She's never had to bathe one.
Never had to towel off a centaur once.
Well,
all right.
If you don't have one, let's wrap up with just a couple emails.
We're going to the party. We're going to the game. We're going to the disco. We're going to cruise out, man.
All right. This first email is from Brian. He says, there's a quote attributed to Truman Capote, perhaps apocryphal, saying, I allow myself one exclamation mark per book. I submit that every exclamation mark is Antigua after the first one is stolen from Capote and prevented him from writing more books. We have an email from Jay. He says, I guess maybe he's finished this. He says, in total, this book describes how old somebody is in years 44 times. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know if that counts as saying he was made of a teenage boy or anything. And on the same note, Stephanie submitted, I believe 96 characters were introduced by name or title in these first 3 chapters. I keep losing count. Sorry. I read ahead a bit and was immediately confronted by another slew of new characters. So we talked about this beforehand. You made the count as well.
I did. I came up a little shorter, but it's a little bit foggy. I went with named characters.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I hit, but, within margin of error, I hit like 93.
Yeah. So the question was immediately, is this blowing the quilters out of the water?
It is blowing the quilters out of the water. Okay. I have that one up. That is 97 for the book.
Wow. So 3 chapters is just completely a book that we thought was as comically overstuffed with characters as could be conceivable.
Yes. This is going to absolutely bury it, which, if we had made that bet, one of us would be rich.
I mean, I guess just by virtue of the page count is the only thing. But still, I don't...
True, but, I mean, that wasn't... I still think it's going to win easily. Yeah. Even word for percentage.
Yeah. By word count. If we extrapolate, we'll see.
Yep.
Nathan submitted, I'm in the middle of a webinar about the 2022 economic outlook as part of my job. This is the only time in my professional life that I heard the term goods and workers used. The speaker was referencing the various contributing factors to inflation. It was such an amazing callback to Ready Player One that my colleague is having a hard time wrapping her head around my explanation for why I'm laughing about this. Just explain to her it's from a podcast about mini wads. She'll hopefully...
She'll go, got it. Say no more.
Stephen wrote in and said, I read some aloud of Antigua. I read some aloud to my wife and said the narrator might be Snagglepuss. She thought it sounded more like the voiceover from Fun in Balloon Land. So I do hope the marrying turkey shows up. So that's someone else mentioned that as well. So that's a theory going around. That's I think that's the emails for now. So that's it for this time. I guess we'll pick up with the chapter we read for next time and cover a bit more in the book.
This is a Talmudic going over this thing. There's so much to.
But yeah,
so much to cover.
Yeah, there's a lot here. There's
we'll speed up.
More to come. I guess so. It depends. I mean, this felt natural at this time.
Yeah, it feels good to me. Thanks again, Patreon people, and thanks. Read along, people.
Mm-hmm. Get the Kindle book. Toss the other ones in the garbage. Burn it. It's heresy. But we appreciate all your support, everyone who listens along, and have a happy New Year. We'll see you in 2022.
So long.